Tell me now, you're the one I've been dreaming about for my whole life. Had you on my mind, oh. Hear the sound of your voice in a crowd, calling my name, yeah, you captivate, oh.
Behind every public service, behind every desk in a government office, there are stories about power. Stories about voices that are heard, and voices that were never given the chance to speak. Today, we are stepping into a reality that we often call neutral, even though it has never truly been neutral. This is a story about gender, masculinity, and bureaucracy. A story about how a state serves its people and who is left unseen in the process. Imagine a government building. Clean, formal, structured by procedures. This is where public decisions are made. But the question is not only how fast the service is delivered. The question is, do the people working inside truly represent the society they serve? In the concept of representative bureaucracy, there are two forms of representation. The first is passive representation, when public officials share the same identity as citizens, such as being women, members of indigenous communities, or other marginalized groups. The second is active representation, when officials not only resemble the community, but fight for that community's interests. Not just identity, but action. A female official who designs stronger protections for mothers and children. A male employee who advocates for paternal leave so caregiving becomes more equal. A non-binary bureaucrat who creates safer public service spaces for diverse gender identities. That is active representation. But here lies a problem. Bureaucracy is not a neutral space. Formally, it is described as objective, rational, and professional. Yet it was built on foundations of masculinity. A kind of masculinity that teaches us. Emotion is a weakness. Logic must dominate empathy. The ideal leader is someone without domestic responsibilities. Long working hours are proof of dedication. And the loudest voice is the one that deserves to be heard. These values turn traits that are often labeled as feminine, care, empathy, the ability to listen, into something considered less professional. For many women in bureaucracy, this means they must appear tougher, less emotional, more rigid, just to be acknowledged. For trans and non-binary employees, bureaucracy can become a space that erases their existence entirely. And while the state claims to protect equality, many public forms and services still recognize only two categories: male or female. There is no room for non-binary, gender-fluid, or transgender identities. Imagine a person trying to update their legal identity and being forced to choose a category that does not represent who they are. At that moment, bureaucracy is no longer merely managing citizens. It is shaping their identity. This article criticizes previous research for being too narrow. Too focused on counting men versus women. Too silent about how masculine culture shapes institutions. Too dependent on numbers, and not enough on lived experience. Because truth is not always found in spreadsheets. Sometimes it appears in stories. A person who cries after being humiliated in a public office. Someone who stays silent because their identity is not respected. A mother unable to return to work because bureaucracy does not acknowledge her domestic responsibilities. To move forward, we must change how we understand gender in bureaucracy. This means embracing research that is qualitative, even Bayesian, because gender is not a simple binary. It means questioning the idea that bureaucracy is gender neutral. It means seeing gender not as a biological label, but as something practiced and lived. It means acknowledging the full gender spectrum, including trans and non-binary experiences. The goal is not merely to increase the number of women in government. The goal is to transform how we define public service, so that the state does not only exist, but exists for everyone. Because behind every data set, there is a human being, and human beings were never created in just two categories. If bureaucracy truly wants to serve its people, then it must see them as they are, not as the system wants them to be. Thank you for listening. Because when we talk about gender, we are not only talking about identity. We are talking about humanity.
Tell me now, you're the one.